All right. All righty. We are live, folks. Thank you for joining me this fine Friday evening. This one will be another quick one because there's only one filing I'll be going through. I'll wait for a couple more people to get in here, and then we'll get this show on the road. Thank you, Zana. Good to see you. See who else we got in the chat. We got 7 people in the chat, looks like so far. We'll wait for a couple more people to get in here, and then we'll go over this. But yeah, it's only 14, 15 pages long, this filing, so it should be relatively short. But I thought it was a pretty solid filing, I have to say, after going over it, because I did go over it beforehand. But we'll go over it here live. Try to get through it as quickly as possible. I figured this stream will probably be anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour at most. So I'll try to get through it as quickly as possible, give some thoughts on it, and then we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. And, any questions that anybody has in the meantime, I'll try to get those in between some of these paragraphs here. And yeah, then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. We'll call it a night after we're done going over the filing here. So wait for a few more people to get in here. We're at 8 right now. So yeah, like I said, I thought this was a pretty solid filing on Delirious's attorney's part. Feels like I don't want to say it feels like it came a little too late because things are still ongoing, obviously. But it's one of those things. Like, I'm surprised that they weren't doing filings like this a lot sooner, I should say. But maybe, like I said, in previous streams, I mentioned maybe it was strategy. Maybe they were waiting to see if Ohm would show his hand. Maybe he did a little bit, or maybe they felt he did. And now they can start playing some of the cards that they have. Who knows? But we'll just have to wait and see. But we'll wait for at least a couple more people to come in here, and then we'll get started. But yeah, we're up to 10 now. We'll wait for a few more to get in here, then we'll get right into this. Let me just go ahead and get it ready, though. So yeah, this is the most recent filing. This was filed just yesterday. So this is the most recent filing. Like, I'm right on top of it for a change. Where not that hasn't been a couple days removed. This was literally just filed yesterday. So this one, like I said, I thought was solid. But we'll start going over it now that we have a few more people in here. So let's get started here. So I redacted it, of course, for the obvious reasons. Like I said, I always do. So it says defendant. Delirious, hereinafter defendant, submits the following reply memorandum in law in support of his motion for reconsideration of this court's December 14th, 2022 memorandum opinion and order. Introduction. The opposition of plaintiff, Ohm, hereinafter plaintiff, fails to refute any evidence submitted in support of defendant's motion for reconsideration and fails to even dispute the vast majority of defendant's arguments and evidence. So remember when we went over Ohm's evidence, right? A lot of it I felt was not good. I felt, and remember what I said, it seemed like, the narrative they're trying to paint is that because of Delirious, somehow his docs reached, these heights that it never would have reached beforehand. That somehow Delirious being on private accounts, or I should say on alt accounts, somehow signal boosted it to a much bigger audience, which we hadn't seen really any evidence for, right? So this filing right here kind of recognizes that. So this is great. So we'll go over it here. Like I said, we'll get a little further here. Fails to refute any evidence submitted in support of defendant's motion for reconsideration and fails to even dispute the vast majority of defendant's arguments and evidence. In making its ruling that personal jurisdiction exists over defendant, the court based its decision on finding that 1, defendant outed Ohm as Ohmwrecker to millions of his followers, and 2, defendant published Ohm's home address and directed those who saw his post to threaten Ohm. Engaged in doxing of plaintiff. However, as detailed in defendant's motion and below, these findings were based solely on misleading, false, and unsupported allegations, which led to multiple manifest misapprehensions of fact. So what they're basically saying here, right, what they're basically saying here to the court or to the judge is like, hey, listen, this stuff that you're basing jurisdiction on, it's based on misleading, false, and unsupported allegations and basically information, right? Judge, hey, respectfully, we don't think that you got it right. Essentially, it's just like, we think that they presented something and you thought of it this way when it's not actually that way. And here's how we're going to show you why it's not the way you think. Plaintiff has now had 3 separate opportunities, i.e. opposition to motion to dismiss, reply, and opposition to motion for reconsideration, but has failed to provide a single piece of evidence to support his repeated conclusory allegation that defendant purportedly outed plaintiff's identity and home address to quote-unquote millions of his followers. Instead, as detailed below, plaintiff has based this entire allegation on a single private direct message, which included a screenshot link of the Kiwi Farms thread that incidentally included plaintiff's name and address, sent from a short-term account with literally 0 followers to a single person residing not in the state of Hawaii, and a single Twitter post from an anonymous account that also had literally 0 followers. Notably, plaintiff has failed to produce a single post or message from defendant's main Twitter account at H2O Delirious, defendant's only account that actually had millions of followers, in which defendant links, posts, or even mentions the Kiwi Farms thread, despite being given multiple opportunities to submit such evidence. The reason for this is simply no such evidence exists. Boom. Right? And as far as we know publicly, right? Now, again, as far as we know, at least publicly, that seems to be the case. I haven't seen anything publicly that was ever shared from the H2O Delirious Twitter account before its suspension with any of that, right? Now, it did, I think at one point from his main account, Delirious did say the first and last name of one of Ohm's girlfriends, or I think his current girlfriend, if I remember correctly. I think his current one, or one of his previous ones. I can't remember specifically right now. I think it's his current one, though, if I'm not mistaken. He did do that. But as far as this other stuff, right, the stuff that he's been alleging in previous filings, right, that did not happen. That did not happen. There was no point where on his main account, which actually had the 4.4 million followers, right, there was no point in time where Delirious ever shared the Kiwi Farms link, right, encouraged people to go to it, encouraged people to go threaten or harass Ohm. None of that. I mean, he did talk shit to Ohm, right? He did do that. But as far as the stuff that's being alleged, right, in Ohm's previous filing, that did not happen. He completely conflated these alt accounts with Delirious's main account and made it seem like, oh, he got it to millions of his followers. But it's just like, first off, we don't even know, right? The one account, right? The Ryan account that actually shared the link. Remember, we went over that in the last filing. That has yet to be proven to be Delirious. Now, the Hopper account, right? The Hopper 98 account, which he sent the Kiwi Farms link in a private message, that was Delirious's. That was one of Delirious's alt accounts. But remember, he sent that in a DM, and he sent it to a Twitter user that no longer exists. That's the other thing too. Not that that should matter, right? Because if that person had a significant following, which there's no way to tell if they did or didn't. I would tend to think that they probably didn't. That account doesn't exist anymore. But that person, as far as I know, didn't share anything publicly, right? They just ended up showing the Twitter DM, and I think that was it. And that's about it, right? And I don't know if they ever shared the Twitter DM that they got from that Hopper 98 account publicly. There's no way to tell if they ever tweeted it out or just sent it to Ohm or sent it to somebody that they knew was covering this stuff or whatever. Furthermore, there is no question that plaintiff's characterization to the court of the Kiwi Farms thread and plaintiff's name and address appearing therein as being created and published by defendant was absolutely false. Right? Because I don't think, and in fairness, I don't think that in the previous filings that Ohm was ever alleging to Delirious creating the Kiwi Farm thread, right? But there was never, like I said, just to be in fairness, I don't think that was even being implied, but I guess they're just trying to cover that base, right? In case that is one of the implications it's going to try to be made. But like I said, in fairness to Ohm, I don't think that he was even alleging or implying that Delirious created it. So it was just, his whole thing has been that Delirious signal boosted it to his millions of followers and encouraged the harassment and the threats. Those are the main two things that Ohm has been putting. See. All right. Can you guys hear me? I think I got a lag spike for a moment. All right, but we'll continue here. Okay. So it says, plaintiff plainly admits in his affidavit that in regards to his address appearing on Kiwi Farms thread, he does not know how they obtained it. Moreover, plaintiff does not dispute that the Kiwi Farms thread was created over 3 years before plaintiff and defendant's dispute arose. This is interesting, right? I wonder if they were watching my streams, because doesn't this all sound like stuff that I said? I'm not saying that they did. Like I said, I was just pointing out that a good lawyer would probably argue this stuff anyways, and maybe they finally decided to do it. I'm not saying that they watched my stream, but it's funny because I did mention a lot of this stuff in some of the previous streams, right? But I'm sure, like I said, a good lawyer would have argued this stuff anyways. So accordingly, the court's entire basis for holding the defendant purposely directed his activities at Illinois and its residents, and that plaintiff alleged injuries arose out of defendant's form-related activities. The entire basis for personal jurisdiction was based on a misapprehension of facts and evidence that was blatantly mischaracterized and misrepresented by plaintiff. And to that, at least in regards to the doxing stuff and in regards to the harassment stuff, I would have to 100% agree. Right? So, discussion, at least again, based on what we know or the evidence that we've seen publicly. If there's something else out there that exists, if there's something that Ohm has, some kind of ace up his sleeve that shows unequivocally what he's been alleging is true, then should have been filed it, or maybe, again, maybe they're saving it. I don't know. At this point, I don't know why you would, but maybe there's a strategy at play that we're just not seeing if that is the case, right? The court's determination that personal jurisdiction exists over defendant was based on several manifest errors based on a misapprehension of facts. Plaintiff admits that an error of misapprehension, not of reasoning, is an appropriate basis for reconsideration. So then they cite a couple cases here. In any given opinion, a court can misapprehend the facts or even overlook important facts or controlling law. So basically, again, this is the nice way of them saying, like, hey, look, judge, we think you might have overlooked this one. We think you based that decision on some stuff you overlooked. So this is why we're presenting this. So you could, and we're trying to be as clear as possible so that you can see it for what it is. Right? The court's determinations that defendant outed plaintiff and his home address to millions of defendant's followers and or created and widely disseminated the Kiwi Farm thread are based on a manifest misapprehension of facts. It is clear that this court based its findings on personal jurisdiction based upon the allegation that defendant outed Ohm as Ohmwrecker to millions of Delirious's followers. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, let's get back to it here. As Ohmwrecker, yeah. All right, and he then published Ohm's home address and directed those who saw the post to threaten Ohm. In fact, plaintiff repeats these false allegations in his opposition, asserting that. Hold on. Who was? Give me one sec. Give me one sec, guys. I'm trying to look it over here. All right, hold on. I'm trying to repeat. Yeah. So I forget who's here and who's here. I think this is. Oh yeah. The Delirious outed Ohm as Ohmwrecker's home address repeatedly to Delirious's millions of fans. Okay, however, despite being given at least 3 separate bites at the proverbial apple, that's a funny way to put that, right? I feel like it's, this is a Southern gentleman that wrote this up, but could be wrong. Plaintiff has failed to provide a single piece of evidence to support such conclusory allegations. The only purported evidence that plaintiff provided related to his assertion that defendant outed plaintiff repeatedly to Delirious's millions of fans is a single private direct message that included a screenshot link of the Kiwi Farms thread that incidentally included plaintiff's name and address, which was sent by defendant to a single person, a fellow gamer known as Angel Praytel, a resident of Hawaii, using a short-term alternative account, Hopper98, which again he had admitted to, which had literally 0 followers. Additionally, plaintiff has now provided, for the first time, embedded in his opposition, a single Twitter post that was made on an anonymous Twitter account. And remember, we went over this one, the Ryan one. Remember in the last filing that Ohm made, right? Which plaintiff asserts without any evidentiary support is defendant. This post also included a screenshot link to the Kiwi Farms thread. However, as seen below, plaintiff notably omits the fact that a review of this Twitter account using the Wayback Machine on or around the date of the post, May 16, 2021, reveals that this anonymous account also had literally 0 followers and 0 friends. See declaration of Edwin McPherson, that's Delirious' attorney, Exhibit S. Moreover, plaintiff has submitted no evidence whatsoever that the post was directed to any Illinois resident or that it was viewed by or reached any residents of Illinois. Accordingly, even if plaintiff's assertion that the post was made by defendant for the sake of argument is presumed to be correct, such anonymous post would certainly not support plaintiff's allegation that defendant outed plaintiff's name and address to his millions of fans or followers, let alone any residents of Illinois. Are they watching my streams? Didn't I say that in the last one, right? That him posting on 0 follower accounts would not be him posting it to his millions of fans, right? Didn't I say the exact same thing when we went over Ohm's filings? And they're saying it right here. Now, like I said, a good attorney would have argued this anyways. But again, it's because it's true, right? That's not posting it to your millions of fans if you're posting it from an alt account. Even if it is, prove it, right? Even if somehow, right, they prove that this Ryan account belongs to Delirious and it was Delirious, that still is not him posting it to his millions of fans, right? To a burner account that got no traction, probably didn't get any kind of retweets, likes, anything like that. Maybe some people saw it again, but that's still not signal boosting it to the degree that Ohm and his lawyers would have you believe in his previous filings, right? And you see it here. They provide the metadata because this account is gone, right? This Ryan account is gone. Right here, they showed in the metadata what it is, right? The name on the account, the @ right? The follower count, you see it right here, 0. The friend count, 0. See it all right there. Plaintiff's repeated mention of defendant's millions of fans on Twitter and his million-strong Delirious army in his opposition is intentionally misleading. I agree. This is because plaintiff deceptively fails to mention that the only Twitter account of defendant that had millions of followers was defendant's main Twitter account, H2O Delirious. Boom. Right? In fact, plaintiff directly references this account in paragraph 17 of his complaint as having 4.4 million followers prior to being suspended. More importantly, to the extent plaintiff asserts that merely posting a link and or screenshot of the Kiwi Farms thread constitutes outing plaintiff's name and or address or doxing, which defendant vehemently disputes, plaintiff fails to mention that defendant has never linked or posted a link, a photo, a screenshot of the Kiwi Farms thread from his main Twitter account or otherwise revealed any of plaintiff's personal information from his main Twitter account. In fact, defendant has never even discussed the Kiwi Farms thread on his main Twitter account. That plaintiff has failed to produce a single post from defendant's main Twitter account, H2O Delirious, in which defendant links or even mentions the Kiwi Farms thread, despite being given multiple opportunities to submit any such evidence, amply demonstrates the plaintiff's conclusory allegations that Delirious outed Ohm as Ohmwrecker with his home address repeatedly to Delirious's millions of fans is simply false. And the court's reliance on this conclusory allegation was a clear mistake based upon a misapprehension of facts. Furthermore, in regards to the Kiwi Farms thread, plaintiff does not dispute that his characterization of the Kiwi Farms thread and plaintiff's name and address appearing therein as being created and published by defendant was absolutely false. In fact, plaintiff now admits in his affidavit that in regards to his address appearing on the Kiwi Farms thread, he does not know how they obtained it. Further, it is undisputed that the Kiwi Farms thread was created on or about May 1st, 2018, approximately 3 years before plaintiff alleges that his dispute with defendant arose. Plaintiff also does not deny that in a Discord direct message with defendant on January 25th, 2019, he stated that he believed the Kiwi Farms thread was linked to his ongoing dispute with another gamer named Cartoons, and thus not the result of his later dispute with defendant. Further, plaintiff attempts to downplay the overwhelming amount of evidence that was submitted with defendant's motion, demonstrating that the Kiwi Farms thread, including plaintiff's personal information, was widely disseminated long before plaintiff's dispute with the defendant ever arose, by stating the remainder of Delirious's motion exhibits appear to show that a few other individuals with very small followings also doxed Ohm. Although defendant disputes plaintiff's characterization that the mere posting or inclusion in a message of a link or screenshot of the Kiwi Farms page would in any way constitute doxing, plaintiff's flippant disregard of the wide dissemination of the Kiwi Farms thread prior to the parties' dispute is grossly understated. As discussed above, plaintiff has based his entire allegation that defendant outed plaintiff's name and address to his quote-unquote millions of fans on a single private direct message sent from a short-term account with 0 followers and a single post from an anonymous account that also had 0 followers. At the same time, plaintiff wants this court to ignore the fact that on October 27, 2020, a YouTube video titled "The Ohmwrecker Drama Nobody Wants to Talk About" was posted, specifically discussing the Kiwi Farms thread and discussing many of the accusations against plaintiff therein, which, as of this writing, has 131,644 views and 1,026 comments. In fact, this poster shows the specific link to the Kiwi Farms thread in the video to all of his thousands of viewers. Damn. In addition to the aforementioned video, and at least 6 examples detailed in defendant's motion of third-party Twitter users posting about the Kiwi Farms thread, plaintiff also wants the court to ignore the evidence of at least 3 other widely viewed videos on YouTube. These videos were posted between 2019 and 2020 regarding plaintiff's numerous disputes with other gamers, have hundreds of thousands of views and thousands of comments in total, which include mention and or direct links to the Kiwi Farm thread. It is ludicrous for plaintiff to assert that a screenshot link of the Kiwi Farms thread, which was contained in a single direct message and a single post from 2 anonymous accounts with 0 followers, somehow reached millions of fans, but the multiple videos posted by third parties with hundreds of thousands of views and subscribers posting or commenting about the Kiwi Farms thread only amounted to nothing more than a few, quote unquote, a few other individuals with very small followings. So, okay, we'll continue on here in a moment, but damn, yeah, this is pretty solid filing, man. I gotta say, this is a pretty solid filing. This again doesn't mean anything, right? Doesn't mean that the court will go in favor of Delirious, because the judge could still uphold her previous ruling, right? But this is, to me, this is good. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. They're attacking what they need to attack head on and saying, hey, look, we're throwing down the gauntlet. This dude's got no evidence to support what he's saying, but we do. Here's ours. Where's his? So if he's got it, now would be the time, right? Now would be the time to put it out there. So hold on. Because we gotta, let's see if I can find it. See if I can find it here. Okay, found it. We'll do this. We'll do that at the end, though. Okay. Additionally, plaintiff does not refute or even address the fact that he was well aware of the Kiwi Farms thread and its contents well before his dispute with defendant arose, and he took no steps to have his personal information, i.e., name, photo, and address, removed therefrom. That's a good point. That's a really good point, because remember, in Ohm's own filing, right, his previous filing, remember that he went to great lengths to get his name purged from the white pages online and stuff like that in order to protect his identity. He went out of his way, right? But when it came to the Kiwi Farms thread, did he even email anybody at Kiwi Farms? Maybe he did, and he just hasn't shown it yet. Maybe he did. Maybe he tried, right? But let's be honest, right? Kiwi Farms wouldn't have taken it down anyways. They wouldn't have taken it down anyways. But did he even attempt to try to get it taken down? Did he hit up anybody over there? That's a good point, right? Plaintiff also does not dispute that when discussing the Kiwi Farms thread with defendant on June 5th, 2020, and the growing dissemination of the contents therein by fans, unhappy with his ongoing dispute with members of the Vanos group, he told defendant, I don't care, and there's nothing on that page that worries me. Right? Doesn't sound like he was worried about it, right? Or maybe he was just trying to act tough. Right? He didn't try to take it down. He didn't try to take it down, so maybe that's true. Maybe there was nothing on the page that worried him. Nothing on there worried him enough to attempt to take it down. So, plaintiff has also failed to produce a single post or message evidencing his allegation that defendant directed his fans or followers to threaten Ohm, which is simply because defendant never did so. Instead, plaintiff has merely embedded screenshots in his opposition of 3 alleged threatening messages posts that he received in 2021 and 2022, which plaintiff blames on defendant. Yeah, remember all those messages that he got where people were talking about going over to Chicago to beat him up or whatever? None of those were from Delirious, right? And there's no point that Ohm has shown where he can say, well, Delirious sent them, right? There's nothing that he has to support that. So, however, not a single one of these messages mentions, references defendant or plaintiff's dispute with defendant. This is important to note because, as detailed in defendant's motion, plaintiff has been involved and continues to be involved in numerous disputes with other gamers and groups of gamers over the last few years, including disputes with members of the extremely popular gaming group known as the Vanos Group. Further, all these other disputes have resulted in online backlash against plaintiff, including but not limited to negative posts, comments, and videos being published about plaintiff. In fact, a review of the first threat included in plaintiff's opposition shows that it is replying to @IamWildcat, which indicates that the post is is likely in regards to plaintiff's ongoing dispute with the popular gamer known as Wildcat, and has nothing to do with the defendant, let alone made at the direction of the defendant. Accordingly, plaintiff's attempt to connect these and any other online threats purportedly received by him to any conduct of defendant is nothing more than speculation and conjecture. I agree, especially given the number of other popular gamers who also have millions of fans and followers with whom plaintiff has feuded and with whom plaintiff continues to feud online. The extent of these feuds, which are notably not denied by plaintiff, is detailed in defendant's motion and clearly evidenced in the videos referenced therein. The court's determination that defendant outed plaintiff's identity was based on a misapprehension of fact that plaintiff's identity was not already widely known and or easily accessible online. In plaintiff's opposition, in response to evidence submitted by defendant of plaintiff's true identity not being hidden by plaintiff and being widely available online, much of it being posted prior to 2013, plaintiff asserted that since Ohm began gaining popularity as a YouTube commentator in early 2014, he has made every effort possible to mask his true identity. And since that time, Ohm only existed to his fans under his pseudonym Ohmwrecker. And plaintiff never provided his name or address to fans. However, as detailed below, these statements are demonstrably false. See declaration of Delirious on August 23rd, 2015. Plaintiff revealed his true first name, blank, in a video on his own YouTube channel. At the 159.07 mark, which as of this writing has over 102,000 views. In fact, prior to, and I watched the video, and yeah, it 100% is still there. It still exists. You could watch it, and he does confirm his own name. First name, but yeah, he does do that. Prior to plaintiff's reveal of his own name on his YouTube channel, plaintiff on March 23rd, 2015, in a public tweet regarding a search for his name, stated that his name would have shown up as blank Ohmwrecker. Emphasis added. Before and after these reveals by plaintiff, many of plaintiff's fans and followers on Twitter referred to and continue to refer to plaintiff by his real name when speaking about him or addressing him directly. Further, on June 10th, 2016, one Twitter user named "Oh shit, it's Morgan" in response to a tweet posted by plaintiff specifically asked plaintiff, "Is your name Brian or Ryan? I always forget," to which plaintiff responded, "It's blank." Furthermore, in a public website called Top Twitch Streamers published a profile of plaintiff on or about November 27, 2018, over 3 years before any dispute arose between plaintiff and defendant. And that still exists. This link is still live, by the way, which is still available online and includes plaintiff's full name along with his age, birth date, hometown, and aliases. Yep, it sure does. Additionally, on February 29, 2020, in response to a Twitter conversation between plaintiff and another gamer, Dahi Denogla, in which they were discussing each other's names, another Twitter user chimed in response to the other gamer calling plaintiff Sean and stated, "But I thought it was blank," and attached a screenshot of plaintiff's own Instagram account, which also identified plaintiff by his true first name. Accordingly, plaintiff's assertion that since 2014, he has made every effort possible to mask his true identity and has only existed to his fans under his pseudonym, Ohmwrecker, and that he has never provided his name to his fans, are absolutely false. Plaintiff also asserts that some of the posts included in defendant's motion showing the plaintiff revealed his true identity online many years ago would not be accessible to the public internet without using the Wayback Machine. However, plaintiff fails to mention that the Wayback Machine is a public search engine and widely available to anyone with internet access. Yup. Thus, contrary to plaintiff's assertions, defendant's evidence of the accessibility of plaintiff's identity and personal information online prior to the dispute does not merely exist in obscure corners of the internet, but is in fact widely available and easily located in some cases. The information was simply provided and published by plaintiff himself to his fans. Accordingly, this court's determination that defendant outed plaintiff's real identity to millions of his followers, i.e. engaged in doxing plaintiff, that the defendant published plaintiff's home address and directed those who saw his post to threaten plaintiff as a basis for establishing personal jurisdiction over him, is based on a misapprehension of facts and evidence that was blatantly mischaracterized by plaintiff. Yeah, again, I would have to agree. Plaintiff's request that defendant's evidence be stricken is without merit and ignores reality. Rather than dispute the evidence presented in defendant's motion, which, as detailed above, amply demonstrates the plaintiff's mischaracterized numerous facts and allegations, plaintiff argues that such evidence should be stricken because there is no allegation that they were unavailable or newly discovered following the court's no allegation that they were unavailable or newly discovered following this court's ruling. However, plaintiff completely ignores the fact that aside from plaintiff's conclusory declaration, which merely repeated the allegations in the complaint with no exhibits, plaintiff initially submitted zero evidence in support of his opposition to defendant's motion to dismiss, and it was not until plaintiff's surreply that he presented any evidence whatsoever. Had plaintiff acted properly and submitted his evidence in a timely manner as part of his opposition to the motion to dismiss, rather than strategically waiting to submit it in the form of a surreply to which defendant had no opportunity to respond, then defendant could and would have submitted such responsive evidence at the time. However, defendant's evidence is clearly directly responsive to plaintiff's purported evidence and arguments that were submitted for the first time in his surreply. Plaintiff also asserts that defendant could have sought leave to file a brief in response to plaintiff's surreply, but simply chose not to. However, plaintiff conveniently ignores the fact that this court made it very clear at the hearing on the motion for leave to file surreply that defendant would not be allowed to respond to the surreply. Accordingly, plaintiff's assertion that defendant's evidence should be stricken is completely without merit. Let me see. So it says defendant filed evidentiary objections as to the impropriety of plaintiff's surreply and newly submitted evidence which was unauthenticated and inadmissible. However, the court did not mention or issue any ruling in its order as to any of the objections filed by defendant, including those previously filed as to plaintiff's conclusory declaration in support of his opposition. Conclusion. For all the foregoing reasons and those set forth in defendant's motion, defendant respectfully requests that the court reconsider its order and grant defendant's motion to dismiss for lack of personal jurisdiction. And there we have it. And this is this right here is Delirious' declaration, where he basically just kind of reaffirms all the stuff that was presented before and shows it, right? And I redacted this, by the way, because it does show not only Ohm mentioning his own first name several times in tweets that were, as far back as, 2015 and such, but people calling him by his first name and engaging with him, and him seemingly not having a problem with it. So again, it's not his full docs or anything like that, right? But still, it wasn't a problem till it was a problem. So that's where this is at right now. This is this is the newest one, Chilled. This is the newest one. I would say this is a pretty good filing. It's pretty decent filing. They hammered home a lot of good points. They provided, I think, compelling evidence. If the judge still upholds her motion, right? That'll be interesting. But I think that this makes a good enough case to argue that, hey, look, judge, you might want to reconsider that. I think you probably got it wrong, because I think they did a pretty good job of driving the point home with the stuff they mentioned here. Because again, they're pointing to stuff that can be proven with not just with the exhibits that they posted, right, which is their evidence, right, but the fact that the stuff that Ohm posted is not conclusive at all, right? You basically have to make a big stretch, right? And like he conflates stuff. He says, hey, he signal boosted it to his millions of followers. Okay, well, where is that? They're basically saying, you're saying he did that, but yet you haven't shown that he did that, which he hasn't. He hasn't. He hasn't shown that. He hasn't conclusively shown it. Again, maybe he has it, right? And he's just waiting for that rainy day to use it. I don't see why you would do that, though. But maybe it's a strategy they have. Who knows? But at least in terms of trying to get this dismissed, I think they've made a pretty good case to try to get this dismissed and say, like, hey, look, we think you got it wrong, and we're going to show you why. Here's why. Look at all this. This is not the same as what he's been saying. He's been trying to lead you to this conclusion that is incorrect. It is incorrect. These are the facts, Judge. This is what was posted out there publicly online. Here it is. Boom. This is what it is. And this is why we think you should dismiss. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But this is, yeah. Like I said, I think this is a good filing, but just because I think it's a good filing doesn't mean that the judge will see it that way. And honestly, look, the judge would have to be brain dead, in my opinion, to not even consider this. At the very least, like, to consider it, take it into consideration and be like, oh, okay, well, you know what? Maybe I screwed up. Because it doesn't, again, the stuff that Ohm put out, it doesn't, and this is, again, this has always been kind of the problem with Ohm too, right? That Ohm has always tried to lead people to these conclusions, the conclusions that he wants people to get to. And it's crazy that one of his own filings, right, that his attorneys did for him reflects that. It's crazy to me that a filing that his attorneys did for him, it feels like it's like Ohm did it himself almost, you know, because he does have this habit. It's just like, dude, look, I'm leading you down the path here. It's like, you could figure it out from here. This is what it is. It's just like, no, dude, that doesn't, you say all this stuff, but it doesn't necessarily mean what you say that it does. It's like, you want people to fill in these blanks and come to this conclusion. But the thing is, you don't do it in a way that can possibly be supported with any kind of substantiated evidence, right? It's better to do it that way. You can't just be like, hey, you know, here, I'll show you this, that, or the other, but the rest you're going to have to figure out and come to the conclusion that I want you to come to. It's like, no, bro, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. That's why, like, nobody wanted to. This is what I mean, like, where he ruined his credibility. When he would go on and say, when challenged on stuff, right? Where it's just like, hey, all these, when he was out there saying, like, all these accounts were Delirious, blah, blah, blah. You know, some were admitted to be Delirious by Delirious himself, right? But then he said, well, you know, the one that threatened the baby was him too. They said, okay, show that. Show that if you have that, right? Well, no, I can't. Well, you know, I got an email from Twitter that says that. Okay, well, does the email itself say, as a matter of fact, that particular account, the one that you swear was him threatening the baby, was 100% confirmed to be him? And he was like, you know, and remember, I asked TJ about this. Everybody remembers this. Did it say specifically that? And TJ said, no, it didn't. And TJ saw the email, right? And I think that's why Ohm didn't want to share it at large. But then again, maybe he does have an email that does say it. And the reason why he hasn't shared it is because then he would be outing whoever at Twitter sent it to him, right? Maybe he's just trying to protect the person at Twitter. But that wasn't the first time he had done something like that. And that's the issue with Ohm. Ohm will always do this thing where he's like, I have all this evidence. It's just like, okay, bro, cool. You have all this evidence. Show it. Well, no, I can't. Well, then why the fuck would anybody just take your word for it, bro? Nobody does that. Nobody's going to do the trust me bro thing. They only do that. The only times that people will do that is if you've shown yourself to be extremely credible. They might give you a pass, right? If you've shown yourself to be extremely credible in the past before, where you've been right like 99% of the time, maybe they might give you a pass on it and be like, okay, look, you know what? Most of the times that you've said that stuff has been true, it's turned out to be true. So you're not showing us that it is true in this particular instance, but because you've been honest 99% of the time before, we'll take your word for it this time, that you're telling us the truth. That's how credibility works. But he doesn't have any. So that's why nobody's willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. And there might have been things that he possibly, quite possibly, would have had Delirious that he would have had Delirious dead to rights on, right? But the thing is, his whole mishandling of everything from the very beginning is where he shot himself in the foot, going off half-cocked on stuff. And even in these filings, it's reflected even in this last court filing that he did, which is crazy to me. Because now you're doing it through lawyers. I mean, it don't matter to them because they're going to get paid regardless. To them, it ain't no thing. They're just like, okay, cool. Hey, we're going to get paid still. So cool. Yeah, we'll file this for you. No problem. This is what you got. Sure. Let's do this. So let's do it. Yeah. You want us to do this, that? Cool. We got you. Yep. Oh, by the way, here's the bill. Ohm. Here's the bill. Thank you for your patronage. I don't know. Like I said, it'll be interesting to see if the judge reconsiders it at all. If the judge does not reconsider it, if she still denies the motion to dismiss, I'm going to be like, man, this judge I don't know why this judge wants to have this case that they're going to preside over if they have no willingness to look at things objectively, right? I'll have to question it, man. I'm going to have to question if the judge is touched a little bit in the head, because it's just like, how can you not see what's happening here? What's clear, right? In regards, and I'm just speaking again, this is not taking Delirious aside. This is not taking Ohm's side. This is about the evidence, right? The facts and the substantiated evidence, right? That's what this is about. And honestly, I don't see how you look at the evidence that Ohm presented and say, yeah, that definitely got to millions of Delirious's followers, when there's nothing that directly shows that. Yeah, Delirious definitely sent people to threaten and harass Ohm, when there's nothing that directly shows that, right? From his accounts that would have that kind of a reach. So yeah, I don't know. Like I would be nothing surprises me these days, honestly. But if this still goes to trial, like to me, if I'm the judge, right, and I see a filing like this, I'm going to be like, okay, I have to at least consider this and potentially grant this the defendant's motion, potentially. But let me at least consider it. Let me look this over. Let me consider it. Let me look and see what they presented, and make a coherent decision based on what they've presented, right? And man, at that point, like, do you really want to go to trial with this? As frivolous as some of the things have been, I think, again, my opinion. Or do you just say, you know what? Why don't you all look? I'm gonna order mediation. Why don't you all just see if you could come to some kind of agreement or settlement? Because in a lot of instances, that's what ends up happening. The parties end up trying to mediate something. I don't know if that's what's going to happen in this particular instance, but damn, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, y'all. But I guess for anybody that's joining, if you're just joining now, I appreciate you. We'll go for probably like 10 more minutes, and then I'll wrap it up if anybody's got any questions. But I'm going to show a little bit for anybody that's joining. But yeah, they provided, I think, what I believe to be, solid, more definitive evidence. Of course, nothing is ever absolute, and there's always there could still be a counter. But to me, you have something a little bit more tangible that you could point to when it comes to what Delirious's lawyers are presenting now, right? Where with Ohm, what you have is this idea, right? It's just like, hey, this was signal boosted, my personal information, and him directing his millions of followers to threaten and harass me. Him saying that, right? There's nothing tangible to really point that to, you know what I mean? In his findings, his attorneys were like, hey, he pointed his millions of followers to his front door. Okay, where did he do that? Because he certainly didn't do it from his main Twitter account, and he certainly didn't do it from his YouTube community page or any other social media account that is H2O Delirious, right? There hasn't been any of that. But you can point to these other places, right, where right, 131,644 people viewed this video, which literally, because we saw the video, remember? In one of the previous streams I did, we saw the video where the Kiwi Farms link was literally posted in the video, the whole URL. Not just a screenshot of the page, a screenshot of the entire URL. Meaning that anybody that pauses the video, if they don't click, if it wasn't linked in the description, all they had to do was type in the URL. It would take them directly to the Ohmwrecker Kiwi Farms thread. So there's things, like I said, that there's things that his lawyers are pointing to that, again, have some kind of stat attached to it, right? That being the views, right? It's just like, hey, look, you're saying that our client H2O Delirious put your information out to his millions of followers, but yet you haven't been able to adequately approve that. The best that you have is that our client, admittedly, on an alt account, shared the Kiwi Farms thread that incidentally had your personal information on it in private to somebody. And he did it from an alternative account of his that has 0 followers. Also, you claim that this other account posted the Kiwi Farms link in your personal information, but yet that account also had 0 followers, and you haven't proven that it belonged to my client, Delirious. There's nothing that you provided to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that it was my client. So you saying that it was posted to millions of his followers and saying that he directed millions of his followers to come and harass you is just hearsay. That's it. It's just hearsay. Whereas we can point to a video that at the very least, 131,644 people watched, presumably, right? If it wasn't people were just watching it more than once, but a sizable number of people viewed the video that had the direct link to all your personal information. We can prove that because that video is still up. Also, we can show you that other people that were covering Ohm were talking about this Kiwi Farms thread. We can also show that people were commenting on these videos, also sharing this Kiwi Farms thread. We can directly point to stuff. you want us to take your word for it that somehow this reached his millions of followers just because you say so. That's not going to fly. So, yeah, shit. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, y'all. This is very interesting to me. I'm very, to me, this might be the best filing yet, at least in overall, in terms of everything, just because it cuts straight to the point, right? It cuts straight to the point and says, bam, in your face this, bam, in your face this, bam, in your face this. What you got? Because it's throwing down the gauntlet. It's challenging them. It's just like, listen, dude, you keep saying this thing. It's the same song and dance. Put up or shut up. Do you got something that shows beyond a reasonable doubt, something conclusive that we did this shit or not? Because this is a huge stretch here to say that this got to his millions of fans when it wasn't even shared from accounts of his that had millions of followers, bro. So it'll be interesting to see how Ohm and his attorneys respond. Like I said, maybe he has something, and if he does, holy shit, that would be huge, right? If Ohm had something a little bit more conclusive and he finally decides to show it, that'd be some shit, right? But as far as we've seen, and like I said, from what I remember publicly, from when all this shit was going down, I'm of the belief that he doesn't have it. I'm of the personal belief that he just doesn't have it. And if he does, shit, like I said, man, bro, you should have been shown it. And maybe it's not too late. Maybe you will. I don't know. Like I said, I'm happy to correct the record. Done it before. If I'm wrong about something, happy to correct the record. And say, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll say, hey, oh, well, I was the belief that he didn't have it, but I'll be happy to say, hey, well, props to Ohm. He proved me wrong. He showed the evidence, man. He finally came correct and showed something definitive, right? But so far it hasn't happened. And I'm not sure if it's going to. So we'll have to wait and see. But does anybody have any questions about anything? Because we'll be wrapping it up here soon. Wow, we got almost 70 people in the chat, or we had 67, almost 70. I appreciate you all joining me. This is great. It's been a minute. But yeah, let's see. A part of me wishes we could see his evidence. Who owns evidence? I'm not sure he's got it. Maybe he does. I mean, he should show it, because here's the other thing too. Look, if for whatever reason the judge does end up reconsiders the motion, right? Certainly not going to be helpful for Ohm. There is no reason that I can see, if Ohm has anything conclusive, any kind of conclusive evidence, it would be foolish to hold it back, because this filing, again, in my opinion, makes a strong case for the judge to reconsider the motion to dismiss. Now, if you don't want the judge to do that, if you're Ohm's lawyers and you're Ohm and you don't want the judge to do that, then you give her a reason to not do that. You show what you got. And if you got something good, you got something conclusive that completely slaps this down, this is the time to show it. To say, hey, look, you know what? Checkmate. Got you. Here's what I got. Now is the time to do it. Don't even give the judge pause. Don't be overconfident and thinking that just because the judge denied it before, that she's going to do it again. Because again, with court cases, you never know which way they're going to go. It's not worth taking the chance. And shit, look, he's already paying his attorneys anyways, right? Ohm's already paying his attorneys anyways. He might as well, like I said, if he has an ace, up his sleeve, he should be playing it to make sure that this judge, that he doesn't give this judge an opportunity to reconsider that motion, right? Because if you're wanting this to go to trial, right? Which I'm pretty sure Ohm does. Ohm wants this to go to trial, right? Then play your cards, bro. Play what you got. If you got something good, now's the time. There's no reason to hold back anymore. because it's pretty obvious that, look, at least to me, Delirious's attorneys aren't going to hold back. They're just like, nah, we want this shit gone. We want this shit done. This shit is stupid. We don't want to keep playing this dumb song and dance with this guy. We want to send him packing. And more than likely, if they do, they're probably going to go after him for attorney's fees, right? At the very least. Maybe not so much damages, maybe damages. More than likely damages, because remember, Delirious filed countersuit, so he's looking to probably get something, especially if you're Delirious, right? And because of Ohm, you lost $500,000 to $1 million. Yeah. You're going to want to take his ass to court. Yeah, for sure. So, but yeah, if you want to get, if he wants to get the leg up, like I said, if he's got anything, it's time, man. It's time, baby. It's time to just show what you got. So, Basic Gaming Hall 2. Do you think this is why he's been holding on to what he claims is evidence so he can go to trial? Possibly. It could be. Maybe. Because a lot of times, look, I'm sure on both sides, there's things that they're probably going to hold back in the event that it does go to either deposition or a court trial. Like in depositions, you'll kind of get a preview of, you'll kind of get a little bit of a preview or an idea of how the court case will probably go if it gets as far as depositions. But possibly, I mean, it's not to say I don't think Delirious's team is showing their whole hand either just yet, because they're planning to sue for like tortious interference and a couple other things. And that's stuff that I'm pretty sure we'll probably see a little bit more of that come out if they get as far as depositions, right? In the countersuit, when the countersuit comes about, right? But in this one, I don't know. There might be stuff that they're holding back for the benefit of if it does go to court, maybe. But the thing is, to me, it's kind of on shaky ground right now because they're making, again, in my opinion, but the judge could see it completely different. Just because I'm seeing it this way, just because I see it this way, doesn't mean the judge is going to see it this way. The judge might say, I don't care. I still don't give a crap. I'm denying your motion to dismiss anyways. The judge could still do that. It would be dumb, in my opinion, for the judge to do that. I'd be like, okay, so she just wants to preside over this dumbass trial? Okay, cool, whatever. That's on her. She could still very well say, nah, my ruling stands, motion to dismiss denied. Like I said, I would think that's really dumb, but it could happen. We have to accept the possibility that could happen. So, because that's the crazy thing with court cases. That's just, you never know which way the wind is going to blow on any of this stuff. It could go to trial and Delirious could lose, possibly. Just like the other way is true too. It could go, Ohm could be the one taking Delirious. He's the one that obviously filed the suit. He's the one taking Delirious to court, but that doesn't mean he's guaranteed to win it either. Just because you're a plaintiff in a trial doesn't mean you're guaranteed the victory, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how things shake out here within the next couple weeks here. Like I said, I've been pretty on top of the filings. This is the most recent one. So guy that likes Johan says maybe the judge wants to see Delirious and Ohm's face reveal. maybe it's possible. Maybe they're a closet fan. Maybe they've been a closet fan of Vanos and them for a long time. Who knows? But it'll be interesting to see. The Elemental Hero, the Shadow Link Dragon Wolf King says, Mr. Toy, I'm still wondering about the email that TJV saw and that you asked him the question about the email. Do you think that email has something else, or what do you think that email was that TJV saw? I think that was an email from Twitter that was from one of Ohm's contacts, probably. But it was probably to inform him that it was probably a list. I'm just assuming here. It was probably just a list of a bunch of Twitter accounts that were mass reported that were all terminated. Now, it could be an email that says all these accounts are from the same person, maybe, possibly. But remember, I asked TJ if they said that they were specifically linked to Delirious. And he said, no. So take that for what it is. And again, it's not anything against, TJ or anything. I'm just saying, I'm just stating as it happened, right? I asked him point blank because as far as I know, TJ is the only one that has seen the email that Ohm has lauded, right? He's the only one that saw it. And even he said, well, no, it didn't specifically say that. So take that for what it is. I think, look, it's possible that Ohm, if I had to guess, Ohm probably has made some contacts at Twitter over the years, especially considering that he was a verified account. I'm pretty sure that he had somebody that he could contact at Twitter, a person at Twitter, or maybe a few contacts at Twitter that he could have do, favors for him. It's possible, but the reason why he probably doesn't or didn't want to put that email out there is to out that person, because at that time, especially, and even now, probably still, if they're still there, they would probably get fired, right? For talking about a person's personal account, another verified user's personal account. I'm sure that there's probably some rules they would be breaking in regards to talk about any kind of private information regarding that account. But then again, if that person's your buddy at Twitter, he probably doesn't care about those rules, right? And he's willing to tell you, yeah, hey, look, this is what it is. And in order to protect that person, then you might not want to reveal, right, who they are, or what exactly they said to you. It's possible. And again, that's me being charitable to Ohm, right? That maybe he might actually have something that says that, but knows that if he were to expose it, he would be jeopardizing that person's job or career. So it could be that he actually does have something and he's just trying to protect a friend. It's possible. And again, that's just me being charitable to him, right? So Chilled confirmed them being pizza pirates before his ban. Yep, he did confirm that. I remember. But yeah, I think that we've pretty much gone as far as we could with this for today. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me this fine Friday evening. I appreciate you all. I hope to catch you on the next one. This was a fun stream. But yeah, just be on the lookout. Make sure you have the notifications on. Make sure that you're following on Twitter. That's usually where I'll post when I'm going to be doing these streams. I'm at Toy Bounty Hunter. And yeah, just stay up to date. Like I said, appreciate each and every one of you joining me this fine evening. And I hope you all have a fantastic night and a great weekend. We'll catch up again real soon. You all have a good one.